like to do my own countdown.
Sure.
All right.
What's in that can, by the way?
Oh, Kirkland Bold Coffee Brew.
Right on.
Um, do you ever do you have a Costco membership?
Absolutely. I think it's pretty much required in the Seattle area. It's the home of Costco here. In fact, there's a city
It's
right
in.
up the road is Kirkland, which is where they got the name for their in-house brands.
You learn something new every day. I never knew where Costco was,
Yep.
but it's in Kirkland, Washington.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah. These things fuel me in the morning.
Right
It's
on.
like the Colombian, 100% Colombian cold brew coffee. I'm like, boom, let's
That's the
get moving.
that's the good stuff.
hmm All right. We will get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ayo, welcome back to Luck Management. I'm your host, Carter Loesch, and this episode is always brought to you by CharmND. On today's episode, we have a very special guest, one that I am so excited to sit down with and go through the world of Notre Dame, go through the world of career after Notre Dame, and really just have a wonderful conversation. So I want to welcome onto the podcast the chief engineer of the P-8 International Sustainment program over at Boeing. Welcome, Matthew Slafka, to the episode. How are you doing, Matthew?
I'm doing great, Carter. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be part of this.
Yeah, thank you so much for being a part of Luck Management. And this is going to be a really cool episode because I haven't been able to speak and sit down with a lot of different industry professionals in manufacturing a little bit. And Boeing is always in the news. It is a juggernaut, a powerhouse for the American economy, for everything. And I think that the lucky listeners are going to love hearing about your insights.
Right on. I'm excited to share what I can.
So, Matthew, where am I calling you from?
I'm in Seattle, Washington.
Seattle, Washington. So we talked about that, a little bit before last week, and you're in the Great Pacific Northwest. And good weather right now?
Not too bad weather as far as March in the Pacific Northwest is concerned. A little bit of drizzle, but that's to be expected.
Now, I have never been out to Seattle, but everybody that goes there, they say it doesn't matter, rain or shine. Beautiful city, wonderful vibes, everything's great out there.
It's a fantastic place, and what I love about it is that there's something for everybody. You can be in the heart of downtown and then drive just a short distance, and you're in the mountains and the forest. Whatever you like, there's something for you out here.
Awesome. I love the great outdoors, and I actually just got a dog. I just
Oh,
adopted a
great.
dog about a month ago. Her name is Lorelai, and she's a German Shepherd. And if
Oh,
one
very
day I could
nice.
take her out to the trails out there and
I'm sure
just
she'd
be
love
able
it.
to see that, right?
I'm
I
always
mean,
counting dogs per mile whenever I'm out walking or running on the trails here.
oh, that's amazing. Yeah, you're always looking for the next dog park. That's what I figured out once you become a dog owner.
There's no
That's how you
shortage out
measure
here.
time. That's amazing. Well, the first thing that we like to do on luck management is talk around this concept of luck. You can be lucky, good or bad luck. It all happens to all of us where you're put into a situation, you have a moment that ends up being lucky, but the luck management part that I try and instill and have on this podcast and have conversations around is all around what are you doing before you hit that moment or after you hit that moment?
Mhm.
How did you capitalize on your luck? How did you take that situation and make the most out of it? Or did you realize, hey, okay, this might be a longer play right here.
Mhm.
Something good happened. How do you build connections? Notre Dame is such a world of connections. Notre Dame is such a world of, hey, how can we work together to be stronger together?
Mhm.
So when I say luck management, is there anything that kind of pops into your mind or that resonates with you?
Well, I think it's all about taking advantage of opportunities when they come to you. You can't count on when they'll arrive or in what form, but being open to trying new things, to meeting new people, to engaging in new activities, uh, that's key to managing not only luck, but your path. You can't control everything, but you can control the way that you react, and that's key.
100%. And I think so many people, oh, here she comes.
Oh,
Hey,
hi,
Lorelai.
Lorelai.
She's like, who are you talking to? Um, the way that I see that too is that a lot of people that I've spoken to, luck is a definite real thing, but there is so much work that goes into it, and there is so much skill that is required on it. And if you don't seize that opportunity, you're going to be waiting around and nothing's going to come. As much
And
as you want to attract, you gotta go for it too.
sure. And the flip side of that is reacting to bad luck. When you're dealt a bad hand, the resilience to take that, learn from it, and move on, find a way to spin that negative into something positive.
Yep, yep. I think I heard a quote, optimism is the only realism because you got to wake up each day, you got to say, I'm going to have a great day. And then it sets your whole mindset. And that's when you know you're going to do something special.
That's a great outlook. I love that.
So I want to get into everything here, but I want to first talk about our initial connection. And that is the Notre Dame connection. Now, you are a Notre Dame graduate. I'd love for everybody, all the luckies, to hear about your path to Notre Dame and how that happened.
Sure. So I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Went to Catholic school for elementary school and high school. Both of my parents are
Nice.
educators, so they instilled in me a love of learning and intellectual curiosity. And so choosing a college was really important to me. I looked at, toured a lot of different schools, applied to a lot of different places, and when it came time to tour Notre Dame, uh, I chose maybe not the best time. It was November. It was the middle of a snowstorm. We came out there, and getting dumped on. It was tough to get across Ohio. The snow was really coming down. But as soon as I set foot on campus, I could tell this was the place where I needed to be. Uh, Not just the
Mm-hmm.
gorgeous campus, which it is like a park, like a country club, but more important than that,
Yeah.
all of the people. Everyone there, from students to professors to faculty, staff, everyone involved was so welcoming, so genuine. Um, it was unlike anywhere I'd ever been. I knew this is where I belong.
I mean, you have the background behind you, and once you step onto that campus, there is a literal aura. I don't know what it is. You start to hear the Rudy soundtrack out of out of your left ear, like looking around. You see every. I always say that the landscaping is second to none. It's always pristine. Every blade of grass is the same height. I'm
It,
like, what are those costs looking like for the Irish?
they work so hard on absolutely every detail there. It's really impressive.
And when somebody would look at Notre Dame and they would go on a visit and they'd see that school and it's snowing and it's 20 degrees and everybody's bundled up, a lot of people would run. A
Yeah,
lot of people would say, hey, I'm out of this. I don't need to deal with this. But it's an added feature when it comes to Notre Dame. When you get on there and you see the snow freshly packed on there and you see the Golden Dome shining out from there and the enclosed campus. We're a big school, but it's all right there. You're in the middle of it all.
absolutely. And well, we're big when it comes to area, but not so big when it comes to student body. You mentioned Notre Dame to people, and because of the name, everybody assumes 40,000
We're massive.
students. It's at less than 2,000 per class, so you know almost everybody, and it really fosters
Yep.
that sense of community.
So that blew my mind too. My dad got his MBA there, so I've been a fan ever since I was a little kid. And
Hmm.
Notre Dame's reach, I mean, what, the second or first or second most fans in the like world.
Hmm.
Then you have the Catholic affiliation, so you'll meet anybody that doesn't even know where Notre Dame is, but they know the name. They love it, they appreciated it, and it's close to like tradition.
Absolutely. Tradition is huge.
I have come to see that going there and one of the cool parts, it's like a liberal arts school in a big school, but small school feel. So it
Hmm.
has all those different features. But I've come to see that when you're just walking around campus, you have random people walking around, going to the grotto, going to, uh, like just to walk around the football stadium, checking out all the statues. It's like, hey, welcome to our campus. You
Yep.
want to be a greeter,
That's my retirement dream, to move into one of those townhouses across the street on Eddy Street and just visit campus every day. Go say a prayer in the grotto, go to the basketball games, just have the opportunity to enjoy it because uh, man, there's so much to enjoy there.
right? Have you been back lately? When was the last time you were back on campus?
I generally try to make it back to one football game a year, so I was on campus this past fall, and it's amazing how it's constantly growing, constantly evolving. A lot of different buildings than even when I graduated in 2005, and there's they're continuing to improve, continuing to innovate. It's a great place.
It's a phenomenal place. And you are in the middle of it all, being in the engineering department right there. You're right by the football stadium. You're right by all the action.
Right?
I mean, you're right by the wind tunnels in the winter
Yeah,
where you gotta get in quick.
yeah. Fitzpatrick and Cushing Halls are right there in the middle. Although the Aero building, the Hessert Center, is way up north by the water tower. So I did get to see
Mm,
pretty much all of campus on my bike, getting to and from class, uh, all over the campus. It's a great place.
a good deal. I lived at Fisher Grad actually for my year that I was
Oh,
there
right
for
on.
my master's degree.
Uh-huh.
So I always had my bike. I had my orange Huffy bike, and I would be zooming around campus. Everyone knew where I was because that
Yeah.
orange, neon orange bike would pop out. Um, Once you get on a bike on that campus, the efficiency, you're just like, boom, okay, I could hit the grotto in 10. Then I could get back to Mendoza for a little class, and then we're going to Legends to grab a bite to eat. Easy.
Yes. Yeah. You get it down to a science at some point.
Right, right. It's absolutely beautiful, and I'm so glad that we share that, and I'm so glad that there's that connection there, where you understand like when they say love the Notre Dame, you get
Mhm.
it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Ah, fantastic. I mean, now, what dorm were you in when you were living there?
I lived in Keogh Hall out there on the West Quad, right by South Dining
Nice.
Hall. So again, pretty far from the Aero building, but just another opportunity to see more of the campus. And I was also in the marching band and concert bands, so that
Oh
was
my gosh.
another opportunity for real community. You arrive a couple days early for the start of band camp, and it's an incredible experience. You're just thrown right into it. Not really any preparation, just stand here. Okay, we're marching out, and on day one of band camp, figure it out as you go. And over that week, you learn, you get better. You have tryouts at the end of band camp, and that was one of the second to receiving the admissions letter. When I found out I made the band, that was up there as far as exciting moments go.
I had a few friends that were in band, and you could hear them all on the rugby fields doing their practice every
Oh
day.
yeah,
You guys are your own Division One sport. I will tell you what, you guys are going for hours on hours, but it's a great perk, right? Get to go to all the games. You have the excuses to go travel, And you guys do some formations where I'm like, what? How did they do that?
It's a ton of fun, and yeah, like you said, a ton of work. Practice was every evening because it was a new show every weekend, and we did some fun stuff, and it's uh, just an incredible opportunity.
Now, what instrument did you play?
I played trombone.
Trombone. Okay, I have a cousin. He was in the South USC band, and they
Oh,
rock
that
pretty
one.
hard too. And
They do. I'll give some respect to USC's band.
they go crazy. But he would always tell me about. I think he was a trombone too, and he was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, watch out for the tromboners. We go hard over here. We have a good time."
for sure. Yeah, it was a blast.
Now, being in that and being able to go to the games and perform at these different stadiums and stuff, can you pull back anything that was just that really resonated with you? Like, oh, that is a minted moment that I'll never forget being in the band.
Yeah, this is an easy one. It's my very first home game. This was 2001, so obviously the events of September 11th were just a few weeks prior, and
Wow.
uh, the opening game was deferred, and so I think it was the 20th, 22nd, somewhere around there. We were
Yeah.
prepared for the first what would be the first home game, and uh, all the upperclassmen help you through. Here's what to expect because back then we had the real grass in the stadium. We didn't have the opportunity to practice in the stadium. Your first time in there
Mm.
was the first game, and so uh, we're packed in the tunnel. It's dark. It's crowded. You're shoulder to shoulder with everybody around you just before pregame, and you hear
Yep.
that whistle. Okay, we're going. We trot out of the tunnel, and the South Bend Tribune had printed out American flags and handed just on newspaper and handed them
Oh
out
my
to
gosh.
everyone at the game. And so we burst through from the tunnel, the dark of the tunnel, into the bright sunlight.
Oh, where legends run. I mean,
80,000
amazing.
people holding up American flags went through,
Oh my
performed
gosh.
pregame, performed America the Beautiful, performed the national anthem. Uh, I think
Wow.
everyone had tears going down their faces to see all of that, to be part of all of that, to have so many people come together. It was really incredible.
Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine the patriotism, the excitement of everybody being there, of being like, hey, we're
Ayo! Today's luck management episode is brought to you by Charm ND, or Charmed, if you'd like to call it. Whatever you want to call it. It could be whatever you'd like. So Charm ND is an idea I came up with, and I'm super passionate about it. I've always wanted to hold a piece of Notre Dame in my hand. Highly customizable to whatever you want. And they have the grotto. They have the reflecting pond water from Hesburgh Library. They have 24 karat gold flakes, the dirt from Main Quad. They have stadium seat shavings from the old seats of Notre Dame. The Notre Dame Stadium football pellets of the enjoyed and loved football team. And if you want to make one customizable, I'm happy to work with you. Go Irish and go Charm ND. Now let's get back to the show.
for America. We're going to keep going. We're going to fight on. I mean, that's the tradition behind Notre Dame and being like, we're resilient in this.
Absolutely.
And oh,
And
I
to even add to it, at halftime we were playing Michigan State. Their band performed with us, so we were
oh,
about
arm in
about
arm.
400 instrumentalists. They probably had about the same. So all of us on the field together, alternating Notre Dame, MSU, Notre Dame, MSU, playing Amazing Grace together. It was a great opportunity.
Mm. Yeah, that's where competition and hey, we don't like you guys or we're trying to beat you. That's where it kind of goes out the window, and you're just like, you know what? This is bigger than sports right here.
Yes, absolutely. To see everyone come together, it was amazing.
My parents, we were living in New Jersey at the time, and they would commute into work actually. And my dad worked at the Morgan Stanley building that was a couple buildings away
Oh,
from the World
wow.
Trade Center. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And that day, he decided to go in late because he was dropping my brother off at his grade school. And I, you don't know, everybody knows where they were on
Hmm.
that day.
Hmm.
But to be in that sort of situation, he was just getting to the ferries to get across the water, and they shut everything down and stuff. And he, I mean, he would have probably been okay, but you never know with
Oh,
how
sure.
much pandemonium and craziness that was happening
It was just
during those
chaos.
moments.
Absolutely.
And this isn't the world of cell phones. This isn't the world
Hmm.
of like, hey, I can let you know what's going on really quick.
Hmm.
You're scattered like, hey, is my family okay? Is everybody okay?
Right.
And I will just remember just sitting. We everybody went home from school,
Hmm.
and like a memory I have is just sitting on my mom's bed. She's got the blue comforter on. They got like the oldest plasma TV you could ever imagine, but it's like it's perfect, right?
Uh-huh.
And you're just watching the news, like, what? I was 5 years old then.
Wow.
I was like, what?
Yeah,
Oh,
everyone
crazy.
was just in a state of shock.
I am sure that so many people remember that game and remember those moments, and it's so cool that you were a part of that. That's
It
special.
it was really special, and it was an honor to be a part of it.
Oh, fantastic. Well, speaking of football, what do you think this year? I'm feeling pretty good about this year's football season right now.
I'm excited about it. They seem to be moving in a great direction. Coach Marcus Freeman is a perfect fit for the university. I saw an interview with him. Uh, Lunani interviewed him just a few weeks ago, and
Hmm.
uh, I would love to. I never played football, but man, I would play for that guy. He seems like he's
Right?
doing the best things. He's got the players in mind. He has a strategy, and just they're doing great. They're on the right track for sure. It's going to be an exciting year.
I think it's our year. I think we have some really amazing things happening right now. I'm so excited. And one thing I want to announce actually to everybody here, and you are obviously a part of it now. So all of the guests that I've had on Luck Management, next year I'm going to pick a home football game and we're going to do actually a Luck Management tailgate. So
Right
every
on.
single guest that has been on the podcast can RSVP and come over, and you know how those tailgates go. It is just everybody's having the best time. There's footballs flying, kids running around. I'm going to get a couple spots, and we're going to do a huge sort of networking and connecting event. And that's luck management at the end of the day.
That sounds amazing. I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you there.
Yeah, yeah. So all you luckies, get ready, mark your calendars, because when we go undefeated this year, win it all, I'm saying that's luck management.
Right on.
Awesome. So I uh I love doing this podcast because it allows me to talk to people that I've never talked to, but I love to get a little inside view of you. So for this week, I wanted to see if you had any highs and lows of this week. Anything good happen, or what happened in your week that was special this week?
Well, I'd say one of the biggest highs was having an opportunity to meet with my mentee. Uh, at Boeing, there
Oh.
were really we really emphasized the mentor-mentee relationship, and I was initially when I had my first mentee approach me to ask, "Hey, would you be my mentor?" I was really nervous. I didn't know that I had all that much wisdom to pass along. Uh, but just like this, uh, each meeting is a conversation, and it's always a fun conversation. I learn a
Yeah.
lot. I may learn more from my mentee than from my mentees than they do from me. Um, but I always look forward to it. It's always a highlight to break up the day, to set aside the engineering problems, to set aside working with the technical, and talk about career management, career growth, uh, working within the company, working with others outside the company. Uh, it's
hmm
always a highlight of my week whenever I get to meet with a mentee.
I mean, to have a mentor that's a chief engineer over at Boeing, you have so much wisdom to share. Don't be modest on that. Like from your years and years of experience that we're going to get into, like I'm sure that both ways, it's like, yeah, you get to learn probably some of the lingo from some of the younger guys, and then sharing that wisdom. And I think that Boeing, because it's such a strong company, it, the reason it is because it invests and cares about its people and it wants you to build and maintain those relationships. And so that's
That's
fantastic that they have that.
yeah, that's really the key. You can have uh, you can have the contracts being awarded, you can have the technical side, but people coming together is really what makes it. And I think that's the strength of any company is its people and its culture.
Yep, yep. You can work on the most beautiful campus. You can have all the perks. You can get free lunch. You can get a yoga class for free. But at the end of the day, it's your managers, it's the people that you're working with, and it's the common goal that you're
Sure.
trying to achieve together.
Yeah,
I love
people don't
that.
leave jobs, people leave teams or people leave managers. It's that if you have a good team around you, a good management structure in place, man, that's a great place to work. Doesn't matter what you're working
Yeah.
on.
Hey, no amount of money can give you that like peace of mind. Always
Absolutely.
helps, right? Like
For sure.
you can deal with it a little bit here and there, but at the end of the day, I'd rather be doing something that I can find fulfilling and with people that think the same sort of thing. Um,
Absolutely.
that's that's amazing. So, in terms of moving into Boeing a little bit,
Mhm.
or let me give you my high of the week.
Okay.
My high of the week was we had a client come in. So I work for Kahuna Workforce. They do
Mhm.
skills management software. So we help a lot of different companies understand the operational efficiency of their workforce.
Mhm.
And we work in three different verticals. We're in healthcare, we're in energy, and then we're also in manufacturing. And this week we had Memorial Hermann, which is one of the top hospital systems in Texas and the United States, come in and they're going to be adopting our software. And we had a little happy hour and they kind of walked around. We have a ping pong table room where we're playing ping pong with them, joking, laughing. And you see these huge hospital systems that are saving lives, changing lives. And to just sit down with these people, they were so we haven't even installed the software and stuff, but the relationship that we've built with them, you can just tell it's going to be strong for years because we help these nurses really understand, hey, what do I need to get to the next level? Or do I have the skills to be able to work in this department to work on patients and stuff? And just the level of excitement and, fervor for like our commitment together, it was it was really, really cool and it just made me kind of believe even more so in my company. So
That's great.
that was a big high. Yeah. Also, I went to rodeo. Have you ever heard of rodeo in Houston?
A literal like cowboys roping
Yeah.
animals rodeo. I've heard of it. I've never been to one. I want to so that I can say it is literally my first rodeo, but I have not experienced it firsthand.
And then you could say, and then when you go back, this is not my first rodeo.
Exactly.
So the rodeo here lasts for 3 weeks. It started last week and it goes until I think it's St. Patrick's Day,
Mhm.
and it's 3 weeks of concerts all at Energy Stadium. I
Oh,
think last
wow.
night was 50 Cent. The night before I went to a concert, it was like for King and Country. It's like a
Uh-huh.
Christian kind of pop band.
Uh-huh.
They have Eric Church, all the big country guys, but inside the stadium, on the outside, they have all these rides, huge tents. It's like the biggest
Oh,
carnival you can ever imagine. But inside the stadium, they've taken the football field and they've put down all the like dirt you could imagine,
mhm.
and they are doing like real rodeo things. Like they're bull
Wow.
riding. They're going on horses and having to wrestle bulls down to the ground in
Oh,
record
geez.
time.
Wow.
They have they have literal little kids riding um, little sheep, and they call it mutton busted. And
All right.
you have to get to the other side, and they're all a part of this Future Farmers of America, and they've raised millions and millions of dollars, and every single person is wearing a cowboy hat. I feel like I fully understand Texas now.
That's amazing. If I find myself in
Yeah,
Texas during the rodeo, you know where I'll be. That sounds really
yeah.
cool.
Please let me know. Yeah, if you're not wearing Wrangler jeans and a cowboy hat, you're not from here. Awesome. So let's get into a little bit about after Notre Dame. So you had a wonderful 4 years. Can you talk to me a little bit about that expansion and adventure after Notre Dame and how
Sure,
you came to be where you are today?
sure. So, when I graduated Notre Dame, I had my degree in aerospace engineering. I wanted to work for one of the big aerospace companies, and I sent out dozens, probably hundreds of resumes and job applications to
Yeah.
every entry level job that I could find that I thought I could even be remotely qualified for, and received dozens, probably hundreds of rejection letters because it's competitive when everybody else is doing the same. And uh, wound up getting a call back from Boeing. The HR
Nice.
representative said, "Hey, we'd like to set up some time to talk to you." Okay, looking forward to it. So had a phone interview there, and since it was a phone interview, I had all of my materials spread out on the dining room table. Had a copy of my
Totally.
resume. Had taken a stab at what I thought some of the common interview questions would be, and had some notes for those. So went through
Yeah.
the interview and didn't hear anything after about a week. Well, probably
You're like,
another
oh
one where
no,
gotta
here we go
gotta
again.
keep going. So still at the same time sending out all those resumes and applications. And um, at a big company, things sometimes take a while, and so I
Totally.
think it was about a month before I got the call back saying, "Hey, we want to move to the next step." Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Second interview. Am I gonna fly out? That no, we're offering you the job. Okay, this is
Oh, on the
exciting.
first interview? What
That
an
yeah, that's
impression!
we move quick that way. We don't typically do the multiple interview stages at the company. So you ace the first one,
Wow.
welcome to the company. So that was a big move. So I was living with my parents back in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're all the way across the country. So
Yeah, you got to trek.
yes, so moved out to Seattle. Found a small
Did
apartment
you
not too
drive
far.
out there?
I flew out
Okay.
here,
I was about to
and
say, that's like a 40-hour drive out
it's
there.
it's a long way. I'm not sure if they still do it, but Boeing had a great move package. They paid to. I didn't have much stuff, but they paid to move my
Yeah.
stuff, and they found the flight for me and everything. So that was really helpful to shift from one side of the country to the other. But
Yeah.
moved out here and found that I was one of 200 applicants for that job. So again, it's comes down to luck
Wow.
management. How does one person stand out in a sea of 200, especially at the entry level, 200
Hmm.
applicants? the hiring manager could have easily gone with any of those other 200, could have been equally
So many
qualified.
qualified candidates. Yeah.
So, but the persistence paid off. Like I said, I put my resume out there to pretty much every role that I thought I could be qualified for. And interestingly, I hired into the P-8 program where I am now. And
Uh-huh.
at Boeing, um, it's fairly common to move around to different programs, especially on the military side, as contracts are awarded for new programs.
Totally.
So throughout my career, worked on a few other aircraft programs before coming back to P-8. And we should probably talk about what the P-8 aircraft is.
Yeah. Let's get into the P-8 aircraft.
So the P-8 is originally developed for the United States Navy. It's based on the commercial 737 next generation aircraft. It's been outfitted with mission systems to allow the customer to do maritime patrol, search and rescue, reconnaissance missions
Wow.
on this aircraft, which is the bones of it are the same aircraft you'd fly from Chicago to Phoenix, but certainly outfitted for their
Yeah.
needs.
Yeah, a little souped up, right?
Yes. Upon the success of the U.S. Navy program, other countries have gotten involved, and they've ordered the aircraft as well, and that's where my current role comes in. Currently, India, Australia, the United Kingdom, Norway, New Zealand, South Korea, Germany, and most recently Canada have signed on to purchase the aircraft, and they're all at different stages of operating it. Some have had it for
Yeah.
years. Canada just recently announced their order, so they're just preparing to receive it. And in my
Wow,
role,
cool.
it's really exciting to get to work with the customers to understand their priorities, because what might be right for one isn't necessarily right for another. They
Yeah.
operate in unique locations, have a unique mix of missions where no two customers are exactly alike. So
hmm
to understand their priorities and work to help them achieve them, it's been really rewarding.
That's fantastic. And it probably gives you the opportunity to do a lot of different travel, right? Because you got to build those relationships and go around, and you get to see, hey, how are you going to be operating this vehicle, and what specifications do we need to make it fit your dream, right? Fit what
Absolutely.
you need.
I show up at one customer's location where they have existing infrastructure where another may have never operated an aircraft like this. And so we're talking to them about runway lengths and hangar sizes and all of those things that make each customer unique.
Come on, did they ever give you the opportunity to be like, you want to fly this thing? You want to get in the front?
I have had the opportunity to fly the simulator, but never on board the
Nice.
actual aircraft.
That's amazing. I want to go back just one quick thing on like all the applying and stuff like
Sure.
that. Did you have a potential company where you like, oh, Boeing would be amazing, like that's my number one choice, or were you maybe looking at like Lockheed, or were you looking at Northrop? Like, was there one that you were like, I really think I could fit in here, and it just worked out to be Boeing, and you never looked back? Or are you kind of like, yeah, I'm now a Boeing man through and through. I don't care about any of those other companies.
Well, if you look at my high school yearbook from my senior year, they ask, "What are your future plans?" And the plan was obtain a degree in aerospace engineering and work for NASA, Boeing, or Lockheed Martin. So I'm currently at Boeing.
Nice.
I interned at NASA during my years at Notre Dame. So yeah,
Fantastic. That's cool. See, hey, if you ever make it down to NASA, we're down here in Houston, so
you
a
guys
little
do
bit
some
of
amazing
the space
things down
program.
there. Absolutely.
Oh, the whole campus is like out of this world and everything.
Pun intended.
But yeah, literally, right? out of the stratosphere.
Right on.
But in this P8 program.
Ayo, this episode is sponsored and brought to you by Charm ND. Charm ND specializes in creating unique and authentic sterling silver vials and real items from around the Notre Dame campus. Each charm is carefully handmade and contains a little piece of the Fighting Irish spirit. Vials filled with dirt from the iconic main quad, pellets from the hollowed ground of the Notre Dame football stadium, wood shavings from the seats of the stadium, 24-karat golds from the Notre Dame football helmets, water from the serene St. Joseph's Lake, candle wax from the peaceful grotto, water from the Notre Dame reflecting pond, and holy water for added blessings. Charms are priced at between $20 and $30 and can be customized to your needs as a necklace or a lucky charm. Check us out at charm_ND at Instagram. Our charms are a perfect gift for any Notre Dame fan or alum. So go Charm ND and go Irish. Now let's get back to the show.
And building these out, you have had to adapt and change and go on the fly as technology is growing like crazy, as workforce too. Like you're dealing with different people, Gen Zs coming into the workforce. How have you seen shifts from when you first started to now in terms of like operating the program and how you guys are building out your machines?
One of the biggest, I think, is one of the most obvious, and it's the move to remote work. We were all thrust into that a few years ago, and currently my team is on a hybrid work schedule where we spend a couple of days in the office, a couple of days remote.
Nice.
And that seems to be such a great balance to be able to still have that opportunity to collaborate, to learn from one another, but on those work from home days to really be able to put the blinders on, work on something that requires that focus. It's a good mix of the two. And to be able to balance that, I think, is really important. Swinging one way or the other might be a little too extreme, but I really like the hybrid approach that's become much more common over the past few years.
Yeah, I go in Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then with this little furry one, I work from home Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Nice.
And there is a true difference because you have your feeling of going into work like, okay, I'm locked in, I can go get this done. But I can slide over and go to the desk next to me and talk to my manager and be available. But then you realize that there are different levels of work, and it doesn't make, if you're completely work from home all the time, your workspace and your home meld together far too much.
Yes.
And so, and if you have mentors and if it's such an important thing to Boeing, you want to be able to have that face-to-face attention and connection with those people around you.
Absolutely.
I've come to see too that it was a horrible time a few years ago, but it really pushed a lot of companies to figure out like, hey, our employees are seeing that this is important for them or that we need to improve upon our systems. And this is how we do it. This is how we get better talent. Some people might say, no, we're losing talent. No, this is how you push somebody to say, we are here for you too.
Absolutely. Going back to luck management, that was a really unlucky hand that the whole world was dealt several years ago. The companies and the people that are successful are the ones who found the good in it, who found the way to make it work. And now those are the ones who are accelerating, who are moving forward.
100%. And so your team, how big is your team?
My team is a few dozen people throughout what we call sustainment. And so that includes all of the activities that keep the airplanes flying. We help our customers establish their facilities. We help them set up their maintenance capabilities. We help them train their pilots and mission crew. We roll out
Whoa.
product improvements and upgrades, uh, all of those things that happen after you've clicked the order button on the Boeing website and purchased the airplane. That's where we come in sustainment. And
Yeah.
that's a really exciting place to be, because you get to deal with not only all of the customers, but the aircraft from nose to tail, every system, everything on board. Uh, we get to reach back to the design engineers who originally designed
Yeah.
the systems. The manufacturing facility is just up the road. If there are questions, we can go there and see the airplanes coming together. That's always exciting to see them going from what is essentially a commercial aircraft to uh, the the mission system that it is.
Yeah, can you talk to me a little bit about like the life cycle? So you go through this process of somebody wanting these aircrafts and they have their ideas. How long does it take to actualize an idea or actualize a plan?
So for a brand new aircraft development, we're usually under a system design and development contract for several years. There's a series of design reviews: preliminary design review, critical design review, and then a production readiness
Yeah.
review, where the customer is involved every step of the way. Uh, on a program like the P-8, where one customer has already uh, essentially completed that non-recurring engineering step, uh, it's a lot easier to ramp up a new customer,
Yeah.
because we're really just looking at that delta, that change between the existing baseline and what specific changes might need to be made for a new customer.
Hmm.
Uh, and the big changes often come in the sustainment world. Back to what we were talking about before, about operating out of different locations, different priorities with a mix of the missions, since the aircraft can perform several different missions. Uh, each customer has their own priority, and that's where we really get to tailor the solutions to them. And because of the aggressive schedule, because it's so much, I wouldn't say easier, but faster to get an airplane into their hands, uh, we've got to be really agile, really, really ready to adapt when with the sustainment solutions to ensure that they're ready once those wheels hit the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, each customer probably has their own needs and like things can just change in an instant. So you're just
Absolutely.
constantly looking back and forth to be like, okay, you know what, our runtime here might be a little bit longer, but
Mhm.
we're going to get you what you need at the end of the day.
And that's what I think
That's
is the
so
most
cool.
the most fun part of the job. Because if it was just doing the same thing over and over, that would get so boring. But being able to solve those
Yeah.
problems, being able to help a customer realize their goals, it's truly rewarding.
Hey, I'm in sales and every single day is different from the next and the
Mhm.
conversations that you have. And it's all about messaging, right? It's like, how are you
Absolutely.
going to be able to engage somebody? Because, hey, you may be working for an amazing product, but they need to know the person that stands behind and that's going to be there for you and make sure that, hey, I can hold your hand through the process if I need to, or we can just give you guidance and we can implement the right way. It's
Absolutely.
a fine line.
Yes, it really is. You don't want to overdo it, because that may not be what that individual customer needs. But at the same time, you want to give them everything that you can.
Right? That's luck management right there.
Yes,
So,
sir.
I think the career and work that you're doing kind of also just flows into growing the good in business, which was my business degree at Notre Dame,
Hmm.
in that Notre Dame's mission. You guys are doing things that are, you were speaking a little bit about that search and rescue. Like
Hmm.
you have a true impact in people's lives.
Hmm.
And I just find that to be fantastic that you're working through a mission.
It's incredibly rewarding. We're making the seas safer.
Ah, I love that. Um, well, then, shifting a little bit, I have a few different questions that I love to ask on this podcast and
Okay.
to get a better insight into you personally. So,
Okay.
if you could describe your life in 5 words, what would come up for you? Now, it could be a sentence or it could just be 5 standalone words.
Um, I'd like to think that well, there are things that I work to be. I want to be seen as generous, intelligent, helpful, always willing to help. I did more than 5 there already. Uh, I guess
You're good.
I guess concise wouldn't be one of those 5 words, but those are the things that I'd like to that I strive toward, that I want to be. Uh, I don't know if I'm headed that direction, if I'm already there, but that's certainly my goal.
Yeah, I think that the generosity piece that you just mentioned totally reigns through with this mentorship program, with doing something that is actually having a real impact day to day, and it gives you the opportunity to always learn,
Hmm.
right? You're not staying stagnant in that, as we mentioned before. I find that to be fantastic.
Always learning is something I've always strived for. That's always been important to me to be curious to learn about the world around me.
How do you do a lot of your learning? Is it through reading? Do you do what's your process of always trying to learn?
I do a lot of reading, but I'm open to learning in any way. A lot of talking with others who have had different experiences. I have a mentor of my
Totally.
own at the company, and I learn a lot
Oh, cool.
from talking with other people and from my mentees as well. I learn a lot from them. There's so much out there, so many resources. Uh,
Yeah,
there's there's a lot to take in, and so just being open to that, I think, is important.
I know. I know. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything,
That's
right?
it.
Because there's so much. Now, speaking of mentors and people that have had profound impacts in your life, who would you say was probably the most crucial and most important person in your life to date or even going forward?
Well, of course, I have to recognize my parents. Like I mentioned, they are both educators, both teachers themselves. They instilled that love of learning in me. So uh, they're certainly there at the top. Um, Also, I've had
Always, yeah.
a lot of really good teachers throughout my career, and in particular early on in uh, in my education. My 6th grade science teacher, Mrs. Kudla, uh, was the
Shout out.
coordinator for for the Pennsylvania Junior Academy of Science, which was an extracurricular where uh, each student would do a science project based on the scientific method and not only conduct the project, conduct the research, but present it to a panel of judges. And that showed me that one, science is practical. There's problem solving. It's not just memorizing facts. But two, the
Yeah.
importance of communication, because you can do all of this great math and science, but if you can't communicate that to someone, to those who need to hear it, um, it's not nearly as effective as it could be. And so, combining those skills, I think, has been something I've worked on since then.
Yeah. That's that's really, really important. And the technical skills are always important, and you have to have the knowledge to know and be an expert in something.
Mhm.
But if you can't communicate it, no one's going to be able to do it. That's why everyone talks about their elevator pitches in like 30
Yes,
seconds or less,
exactly.
right? Get it out. Tell me what you're doing. Tell me quickly because there's not that everybody in America is moving pretty quick almost all the time. So
Absolutely.
catch them when you can.
Exactly right. Yes, sir.
So from that, I think communication is very important. But if you could give all the Luckies any sort of advice that you've seen that has really worked in your life, that has helped you become the man that you've become, what would you give to the listeners?
So top piece of advice would be take advantage of those opportunities. Try new things. When something comes up, whether it's at work or outside of the office, uh, say yes to those opportunities. Not all of them will pan out, but they certainly could lead to something more. And just the
Hmm.
willingness to try shows that initiative. And I think that certainly goes a long way. And from there,
Yeah,
offer that experience up to others. Share what you've learned. Uh, Knowledge is power. Send that out to others. Make that available. And
yeah. I so that's kind of the main reason why I do this podcast. It's
Mhm,
to share that knowledge. I
mhm,
mean, I know a lot of things about I know a little about a lot of things,
mhm.
and I love being around people that know a lot about one or two things, or even have your mindset of learning everything, because this knowledge sharing network, hopefully down the line, I could send it to my kids and be like, look, these lessons that I'm trying to teach you today, 10, 20, 30 years down the line, still apply. The core of us is still there, and we need to be a community. We need to come together. And if we don't share, we don't learn.
Right? None of us is as smart as all of us. And that's
Yeah.
why Boeing has about 150,000 employees. We all
Deep.
do something, we all contribute. And uh, by sharing that, it makes us all better.
Awesome. Well, in terms of, yes, there's 150,000, but your core identity, and we've talked about it a little bit on your five words, but if you what is something that is like crucially core to you? And I know you mentioned your family, but I'd
Mhm.
love to hear what do you think makes you unique?
I think I'm always looking for the next challenge. I'm uh, never complacent where I am, and I think that goes a long way to what I mentioned previously about taking advantage of those opportunities, trying something new. There's always something
Yeah,
out there, and to do that, it just broadens your horizons and makes the world better.
I agree. I agree. All right, now we're getting into some fun ones. If you could
Okay.
have a dream dinner guest, or who's at your table, you can have a couple people there, but like, who would you love to sit down with and pick their brain and have a dinner?
Okay. Well, I would start with Joe Sutter. He was the chief engineer for the 747 when it was developed back in the 60s. It was a
Whoa.
tremendous engineering undertaking. It was bigger by an order of magnitude than anything else that had been tried before. And he pulled together the team to make it a possibility. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Also at the table, I'd probably invite astronaut Chris Hadfield. He's the one who performed David Bowie's Space Oddity from the International Space Station. I had the opportunity
Cool.
to meet him and some of his astronaut friends a few months ago. He came to the Museum of Flight here in Seattle, performed a concert interspersed with stories from his space travels. And so he had a band of a few other former astronauts who all enjoy making music and telling stories about space. And it was a
Good combo.
fascinating
Space music.
evening. Yeah, it was a fascinating evening listening to him, hearing the stories, hearing the music. He'd be a great dinner guest. Um, now, if we're also going back, I'd say Leonardo da Vinci was a man who was so ahead of his time, both technically and artistically. Uh, I think it would be really interesting to see some of the things that he had ideas about, how he came really close to the way they became a reality many years later. Uh,
Yeah,
while we're going
ahead of his
back,
time.
absolutely. While we're going back, Benjamin Franklin was another who had uh, a ton of ideas.
Stacked table right here.
I I got to go big.
Yeah.
He had another who was ahead of his time, came up with a lot of ideas, a lot of interesting inventions, certainly for the time, and many that we continue to use today. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, last chair would have to go to Father Hesburgh, not only because he's such an amazing man with
Nice.
such an amazing history, but he was really good at pulling together people from different backgrounds with different ideologies
Truly.
and helping them find common ground. And if I have people from hundreds of years apart, I could probably use that skill to make sure everybody's able to talk to each other and have a good
Yeah.
time at this dinner.
Bonded through the Catholic Church, right?
Yes, sir.
They were, I mean, those guests are wonderful. When I graduated, I went up to Father Hesburgh's library, and
Uh-huh.
he had he was huge into aviation. He loved the world of flying and everything. And
Yes.
I watched a video. He was able to fly in, I believe, a Blackbird or something
Yes.
like that. It was
Yes.
like, oh my gosh. I went to, the Kalamazoo Flight Museum. It's
Hmm.
not too far away from Notre Dame, and
Hmm.
they had a Blackbird there. They had all these different ships and everything, and I was like, this thing is a behemoth right here. Like to
Yes.
fly that going the speed of sound,
That's
like
amazing.
wow. Yeah. Yeah, great guess right there. And I think that conversation that's do you take $1 million or do you have a dinner with them? I think you take the dinner with them.
I'd probably take the dinner.
That's amazing. All right. Do you have any bucket list items? You've accomplished so much in your career. You've done some wonderful things. What's next? What's on the horizon?
So, uh, I've thought about this, and last year was a pretty big one. I crossed off several bucket list items that I'd had. I took amazing trips to Ireland, another trip to Alaska where I rode the train across the state, stopped at Denali National Park.
Wow.
Those are places I'd always wanted to visit. I also ran my first half marathon last year, so a lot of
Congratulations.
thanks. A lot of big ones there. Uh, Going forward, some of my bucket list items are, I'd say, a lot less significant. I want to adopt a rescue
Mm-hmm.
dog. I've uh, I've
Adopt.
loved
That's Lorelai.
I've loved animals all my life. I had dogs growing up. Uh, because I'm on the road a lot, because I spend a lot of days, long days at the office, probably wouldn't be a
It's
ideal
hard.
as a dog owner right now, but that's certainly something that I'd want in the future. And also, I want to learn how to drive a stick shift. I've never had the opportunity, and it's something that I've wanted to try. So they're not exciting bucket list items on there, but they're definitely meaningful for me.
Nonetheless, they are ones that are important to you. And on the first point, adopting a dog, it's work, it's
Mhm.
responsibility, but it is the best responsibility I've ever had. In
I
having a
believe it.
month here, she just makes life better. And I don't care
Yep.
if I have to spend money or do this or that. It's like for a purpose. And the
Hmm.
love that you get and the companionship, it really truly does make a difference. And you want to do it.
Hmm.
So always adopt, don't shop. I know that there's so many dogs out there that need
Hmm.
help that just want
Absolutely.
love
Yes. Absolutely.
as she runs around everywhere. And then on the second one, like stick shift, I've always been happy. I'm like, thank God most of the cars are automatic. But if I hopefully meet some of my financial goals, I'm like, okay, I gotta learn how to do stick shifts so I
Yes.
can drive those different kinds of cars in the future.
Yes. Well, on my last trip to the UK, most most cars on the road there are a manual transmission. The automatics aren't as common, and so one of my colleagues just wasn't paying attention because when you rent a car here, you make the reservation. Yeah, whatever car you have is fine. Didn't check the box to request an automatic, and so he got a stick shift as his rental. So not only is he shifting gears, but he's doing it with the wrong hand on the wrong side of the car on the wrong side of the road. That's a bit of a challenge. I don't know if I'd want to go that far, but just to have that skill, that's one of the things that I'd like to learn how to do.
Yeah, you put on your shades, you're shifting gears. The only time I remember like stick shift though was I used to go to school in the mornings and the Mars, John Marr would pick us up because his kids would go to the same school and he had a stick shift Land Rover. But I'll tell you what, like maybe he was good at it, but all I remember is just jolting forward, back and forth on like the 20-mile-an-hour highways or
Yeah.
like side streets and everything. And I was
Uh,
like, does this guy know how to drive? So you got to be smooth with it.
that's the key.
Um, and so this has been incredible so far. And one of the last questions that I want to ask you and finalize here is, are you lucky?
Ah, I think I've been pretty lucky, but more than that, uh, I've taken advantage of the lucky hands that have been dealt my way, and uh, that I think is the important piece.
That's amazing, right? You don't just rest on that. You got the application, you got into Notre Dame, but
Hmm.
you had to do something with it. You got to Boeing, but that didn't come without 250 different applications.
Hmm.
You had the interview, but you showed up.
Hmm.
You went to different programs and you have to deal with different challenges and you took advantage. I think luck can be made, luck can be developed, and luck can be managed.
Yes,
And
sir.
so you are a true embodiment of that. And I just want to say thank you so much for being able to share a little bit of your story with us today.
Thanks for having me on, Carter. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So everybody connect with Matthew on Irish Compass, on LinkedIn. I reached out to him randomly and he got back to me and we've already become friends through our conversations and he's just an amazing, amazing time being able to have you here and get into this little glimpse of history of Boeing too.
Right on. Thanks again.
So yeah, so wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube, keep living the luck management lifestyle. Peace.